that maybe a product of all the moving parts you guys have had the last few weeks, or any intentionality there? And then also, what do you like about him as a prospect?
Well, first of all, I'll start out with what I like about the young man. Obviously, a high character human being, works his butt off. We did a really deep dive over the past several days on Ron, just understanding, the compete level, the human being. Talked to several of his teammates and understood the care factor, the work ethic. Talked to John Jenkins, a teammate of his, who he got up with every day to shoot with at 7 a.m. Kind of mentored him, but also he was somebody who was trying to mentor some younger players on the team as well. So he has the leadership piece to him. He has the high compete level piece to him, and then he has the winner piece to him. That's what he wants to do, and obviously they didn't do much winning this year, but I think it really frustrated him, and I also know that that's one thing he's coming here to do, is coming here to help us win. So all those characteristics were very attractive to us at this time. And as for not bringing him in, there was a lot of agents that didn't want to send their players here, so we didn't see actually that many players. And then at the end of the day, staying quiet was a strategy. Yeah.
Overall, what did you talked about the draft last Friday, but just what boxes did you really want to check with this draft? And you talked about his character and everything, but as a player, what really made Ron Holland the player you wanted to select tonight?
I think he's again high compete level. I think he's got one of the biggest upsides in the draft. Obviously, everybody knows that shooting is an issue, but I think for a lot of players that had high upside in this draft, shooting was an issue. We hired Fred Vincent for a reason, so we can take chances like this on young players with high, when shooting is the piece. And if his shot hits, he's going to be a really, really good player. The kid works, the kid competes, he's got great size for position. I just think everything that we looked at across the board, he just checked a lot of boxes except for shooting. I think it's really hard to find a player of that age, compete level, have the productivity in the G League that he had at 18 years old. I think he's just going to bring a competitive edge to this team going forward, and I think it'll be the type of player that this city, can back and wrap their arms around.
How much did the type of season that the Ignite have complicate the process? And I heard, there was no real point guard on that team. It was maybe had not really high usage rate. Maybe he was asked to do things that he wasn't really fully prepared to do. But how did that complicate the evaluation process?
Good question. I watched him several times, watched a ton of tape on obviously he had several teammates aside from himself that were draft eligible. So we were studying a lot of them. And I think that his end-to-end speed, his size for position, his compete level, again, he's a big-time rebounder at his position. I think we all think he'll be able to guard 1 through 4 at the end of the day, and that's what he wants to do. And I think he was asked to do more. And I think that's one thing he did say a couple times, especially when we interviewed him in Chicago. He did say, look, I understand what my role is. I understand who I am as a player. I want to come to whatever team that drafts me, and I want to help them win. Obviously, the people that he compared himself to, Jaden McDaniels, Jaylen Brown, Mikal Bridges, those guys came in as defenders first, and then they figured out their offensive game. So he knows who he is, which I think is huge to have that kind of awareness at 18, 19 years old. So we're incredibly excited about having him.
Trajan, two things.
Leading up to the pick, were there a lot of offers to move outside?
There were some. There definitely were some. There were a lot of calls leading into the draft. The calls kind of dried up when the pick came. So it made it. You always have to prepare to take the pick. So there were a lot of calls yesterday, today, leading in from several teams behind us, and that was another reason why I went dark. I just didn't want really anything to get out. Agents. You talk to an agent about who you like, and all of a sudden they start talking. So that was kind of a strategy by us, especially with all of the trade done.
How much does he duplicate what Assar did or brought last year?
I don't think you can ever have enough big-time elite defenders as long as they can figure out the offensive side. So I think he's super competitive. I think he's a really hard worker. I'm not that afraid of the shot. He's going to have to work on it, but I'm really not that afraid of it. Again, I think we have somebody in-house that's really good at developing shooters. He's young, he's going to work, and I think he has something he can do at an elite level with elite size and athleticism for a position. Again, he's going to compete and he's going to work and he's going to come and try to help this team win. I think all difficult things to find in one package, so he was attractive to us for all those reasons.
Are those two similar though, Asar and him?
I think they are similar. I mean, high compete level and high ability to impact the defensive end and elite athleticism and size for position, big time rebounders. So those guys are hard to find though. So I think they can play together. I think they can play on different units. Look, they might not look great together immediately, but they're young, developing players, and that's not always going to happen regardless. I mean, if you're drafting 18, 19-year-olds to play in this league at a young age, it's going to be tough, but they're going to develop, and hopefully in the future we foresee them playing together and impacting the game at a high level.
Try to compare players from the Ignite League to college basketball, and having that go away, is that a bad thing?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
Getting players out of this Ignite League, how do you compare to college basketball? How is it better, different?
I think it's just different. I mean, look, they're playing against grown men. I mean, college, you're playing against college players, which is great. Love the game of college basketball, and it's one place that we assess talent. Obviously, this is different. You're watching an 18-year-old player play against some of the best college players, right? In the G League, you're not playing against the 6 through 10 player on a college team. You're playing against a 1 through 5 player, usually on a college team. They're on the G League team, so they're older, and their level of talent is higher, and they're more experienced. So I think it's you cut your teeth at a little bit better, a little bit higher level there. But obviously, the experience of losing a ton is never fun, and so that's one thing that those guys had to deal with. That again, is never fun for any young basketball player.
Trajan, Bob Winowski, columnist for the Detroit News. You have talked about collecting assets and either taking contracts or tech. We thought maybe this would be a case where it could happen with a trade and you could collect assets. Are you at all disappointed that you couldn't do it? And does the asset collecting process now begin in other ways?
I don't think of course I would have been elated if we could have been able to collect an asset, move back and get a player of Ron's caliber, but I think we're very, very happy getting Ron at our pick this year. I think it was our intention to find a player that we really liked and didn't want to move back and get a player that we didn't like while gathering assets in the draft. So I think that was definitely something that we thought about in the process, not only leading into the draft, but also when we were on the clock. Look, we have space, so we'll listen to calls. We're getting calls already on some things, but we're looking for future assets, a little bit more than assets in the draft right now. And I think we'll be thoughtful and we'll be process oriented around those that we take in. I don't think it's going to be something we jump on right away if we don't think it's the right asset value or something that, again, like I've said before, helps bolster the growth of our young players.
Trajan, I have 2 questions.
Your last one, Vince, and then I want to get them back.
Okay, shot. It's your first draft with Tom, so I guess speak a little bit to his involvement in the draft prep. And the second question is, this is the first year the draft is 2 days.
Yeah.
And did you change your prep any at all, going from 1 day to 2 days? So basically 2 questions.
Well, I think the good thing is this night isn't going to go long. We get to go home right after 30th pick is over, so there's no E10s or 2-ways or anything like that. So there's no fighting with agents on how much money we're going to give a guy to come to camp, or if we're going to keep a 2-way open. That'll happen tomorrow, but hopefully that'll be at 6:30 or 7 o'clock as opposed to midnight like it usually is. So definitely the prep will be different tomorrow. We'll be calling agents on different things. We'll be calling different teams on if we want to get in or what we'll do with 53. But I think we'll stay patient and we'll find ways to see if we can make this team better. In terms of dealing with Tom, we've kept him informed and engaged this whole time. Met with him a few days ago on what was coming in terms of draft and potential free agency and potential trade targets. And I think he seemed to be in a good place with what our vision is and what our process has led to. And I guess we'll just see how we execute on it now.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you, Jerry. All right, thanks, guys.